We will kick things off, though, with the Champions League draw that was made earlier today. It's a really good draw in the sense that there are no teams from the same country who face off against each other. That's always good in the Champions League. It's excellent if you're an Arsenal fan. They are very much on the easier side of the bracket. They're drawn against Bayer Leverkusen. Bodo Glimt, meanwhile, of course, very much the fairy tale side, take on Sporting. They'll play the winners of Arsenal against Bayer Leverkusen. The other side of that, Newcastle, Barca, Atletico Madrid, Spurs. But the other side of the bracket, really competitive, very interesting indeed. PSG against Chelsea, repeat, of course, of the World Cup final. Galatasaray against Liverpool. Real Madrid, Manchester City face each other once again. And it's Atalanta against Bayern Munich. For more, let's welcome in. Oh no, let's just remind you, of the odds. No surprise. Arsenal, huge favourites now to go all the way and win their first ever Champions League. They're supposed looking at the other side of the bracket and feel that Bayern Munich are the favourites there.
Liverpool 17-2, I suppose that's Galatasaray.
Well, yeah, then you've got a lot of work to do as well from there as well.
Ahead of PSG.
Yeah, let's welcome in, shall we then? Jan Aage, Fjortoft, Julien, Laurent, Craig here. Craig, if you're an Arsenal fan right now, you couldn't have asked for a better draw, really, could you?
Not really, no. And, barring a disaster, they should make relatively comfortable work over 180 minutes of Leverkusen, and then it doesn't get that much tougher until potentially the semi-finals. So a really good draw from their perspective. I think if you said to Mikel Arteta, "What do you want?" pretty much that's what he would have taken. So you can see a pathway for them. Not trying to get ahead of ourselves.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself, an Arsenal fan. You're thinking Bodo Glimt?
Yeah, I know.
You're thinking Bayer Leverkusen?
No, I know, but sometimes as a player and a manager,
all right, God, this is like manager talk.
No, but
one game at a time, tough opponents, no easy games in the Champions League. Come on, Burley, it's a gift, it's a layup.
Well, yeah, it's about as easy as it's going to get for them. But they're still going to go out and get the job done. I think they will. I think Arsenal are pretty much nailed on at the moment. I would say to be at least in the semi-finals, and bearing in mind they're the favourites to win the Premier League, and if they go on a run in that competition, they could put that to bed a little bit earlier as well. They should have been away further ahead than they are in that. So yeah, I mean, they've got a Carabao Cup final coming up, still in the FA Cup. When are we talking about the quadruple, which we did with Liverpool last year, and it fell flat on its face.
This, I think, Arsenal fans will be happy, is a slightly different situation. Jules, with your Arsenal allegiance, you can beat anyone on that side of the bracket comfortably at the moment.
Yeah, I think this is very good. Obviously, that's the half. We knew one half of the draw would be easier than the other. And when you look at them both right now, there's one side where you have one former winner of the Champions League out of 8. That's the Arsenal side. The other side, you've got 6 out of those 8 who are previous winners, including the reigning champions, obviously, in PSG. So for Arsenal, that's exactly where you want it to be. The pathway certainly to the semi-final and potentially Barcelona, which won't be easy, obviously, with the second leg at the Emirates, because let's not forget, because Arsenal topped the league phase, they're guaranteed to be at home for as long as they are in the competition until the semi-final, obviously. So it's true, semi-final is where they were last season as well. So they have to do at least the same, if not better, obviously.
Meanwhile, and you look at the other side of the draw, much harder to predict. According to the bookies, so it's Bayern Munich that will make it their way to the final throughout everyone.
Absolutely. I just want to say that Bodo Glimt will have the same path as Arsenal. So I look forward to the semi-final at about Northern Light in North Norway, by the way. Of course, this is unbelievable. And City against Real Madrid, is it a 5th time or something? I mean, this is sometimes we think they're doing something with a draw to make it easier, but they try to do it more difficult than anyone. And for Bayern, wow, this is also a big challenge for them. They're also one of the favourites going in there. But having said that, as Burley, as you called him, Burley start to be like the 5 cliches in one thing. I will say that you have to win we have to win against everybody to get into the final.
Meanwhile, we'll once again see Real Madrid against Manchester City. These teams, of course, know each other extremely well. Thibaut Courtois said it was going to happen, didn't he, after their win against Benfica? Just a reminder, they already played each other back earlier on this season. And you go back to last year, Real Madrid had the bragging rights over the two legs. And then the quarter-final, of course, that dramatic win on penalties. Manchester City with that 5-1 win back in 2023. And then really where it all started in 2022 with that incredible win for Real Madrid. Jules, did I see you on the Gavin Jules podcast saying you wish this didn't take place? You're bored of these two?
Yeah, we did a reaction of the draw with Aage and Gab for YouTube. But I'm sorry.
No,
I mean, I'm all for the big games. I wanted the big games. No, I want the big games. But not a game that we've had like a few months ago and last year and the year before and the year before and the year before as well. This is the only thing. I will be very excited like all of us. And this Haaland against Mbappe, Guardiola going back to Spain. There's a lot of great narratives, great stories, great matchups, everything you want. But yeah, I'm tired of it because every year we have the same. And by the way, Aage made a good point on the YouTube video that we did earlier. Whoever loses that, it would be a disaster for them. I mean, I don't care if Arbeloa is there next season. For Real Madrid to be knocked out in any season in the last 16 of the Champions League is a disaster. For this City team under Guardiola, potentially the last Guardiola campaign for City in Europe, to be knocked out so early would be a disaster as well.
If you remember the game earlier this season at the Bernabeu,
Okay.
Sorry, Jan, it was one of Real Madrid's under Alonso's better performances in terms of excitement, but only because it was the most bonkers of open games that I can remember Manchester City playing. And they really allowed, although Real Madrid lost, they really allowed Real Madrid, if memory serves me right, a bit of a foothold in the game because defensively, City were just all over the place. I mean, I know Real Madrid have got their own issues defensively, but it's the one thing that's going to bite this Man City side in the backside. Because, yeah, they've got Kylian Mbappe, yeah, they've got Vinicius. I know Mbappe's got a little injury at the moment. And yes, they've got Vinicius, but let's be honest, City have more in their armoury going forward. They're playing better going forward. They have a better group of players in the forward areas to pick from, certainly in better form. But it's their gung-ho attitude at the back that if they approach the games in that manner, then Mbappe and Vinicius can punish them. And as Joe said, they could go spiralling out. And he's unlikely to win the Premier League this year. I mean, he may win the Premier League, but certainly Arsenal are favourites. And if they go barrelling out of this competition at the round of 16, that is not good. So City have to get the defensive aspect of their game right. If they do that, if they do the basics defensively, they win this tie over two legs, I think. Mm-hmm. If they don't, this very average Real Madrid side with Mbappe up front, running in behind, getting onto any mistakes, any loose balls, any counter-attacks, if City don't get that right, they could well go out of this competition. But if they somehow learn from that game that they won in the Bernabeu, and I know they won it, if they learn from the defending and the openness in that game, over two legs they'll go through.
Just quick, Jan, before I come to you, what is Mbappe's possibility of playing in that first leg, Jules, given the injury?
That's the hope. That we mentioned it on the show last night, that knee issue that he's had for weeks and weeks and weeks now. He needs a rest. He's getting the rest now. He won't play against Getafe this weekend, neither the following weekend, but they're really hoping he could be back for the first leg.
Calm down, Italians, all right? But I'm going to say it. Who would Bayern Munich prefer, do you reckon? City or Real Madrid, Jan?
But if I can conclude on that, because I think it's interesting, because we are now sitting here discussing who are the favourites now. We are still in February. We get into March. That is the test of the big months in football. For example, Bayern now, what are the trends now? There is a small trend that Bayern is conceding a bit more goals now. We know that they've had that trouble before. They're conceding a bit more than they used to be. Davis is out, of course. What do you do on your left back? That is one thing. Then you've got Arsenal. And Arsenal, I think they can get over Leverkusen. Leverkusen did all the job in Piraeus against Olympiacos when they won 2-0. And then they got it over a line at Bayer Arena. But what kind of frame will Arsenal be in the next months? Will they
My
lose
question
a
was
final?
about Arsenal. Who would buy prefer, Manchester City or Real Madrid? Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying that because that we can easily say that on the form now. I'm looking for which of these clubs will go into these big games being in top form. And Bayern, yeah, it's one of them. Will they? It doesn't matter if they play City or Real Madrid. That is more or less the same. That's more or less the same for me. But I think we should look for trends. This thing that Arsenal can already book their semi-final ticket, I'm not having that. Because Arsenal is playing against a big opposition called Arsenal. They have to win over that thing going into this period now. If they do it, they can go all the way. We all know that. As Jules said, they were in the semi-final last season. So there is a lot of things happening now. And I think that we go a bit easy just to say on the present form.
Didn't you ever go at me at the start of the show?
With cliches.
Didn't you ever go at me at the start of the show saying, cliches and one game at a time?
Because Arsenal is good yesterday, they're going to win tomorrow.
Thank you. Come on.
Okay.
They're playing Bayer Leverkusen and then Bodo Glimt or Sporting.
I think Bayern would beat, at the moment, or even come the time, I think Bayern, if they play well, would beat City or Real Madrid. Real Madrid have been terrible. I mean, Benfica outplayed them for long periods. Courtois was man of the match. If you looked at the XG in that game and all that sort of stuff. We see La Liga every weekend. A lot of teams outplay them. Yeah, they've got some results recently. Yeah, they went briefly to the top of the league. But they are not playing well. They are so heavily reliant on Kylian Mbappe, and since he's been out, Vinicius, who looks a little happier now Alonso's gone. But they're just not a well-oiled side. They struggle in the middle of the park. They struggle at the back. They've struggled in the full-back areas. You know, Carvajal's been in, got done by Victor Munoz in the Osasuna game for pace time and time again. Trent Alexander comes in the midweek and gets roasted by the Norwegian winger every time he gets the ball. So they have their issues. And we obviously have well documented, Man City's problems in certain areas as well, particularly at the back. And even though, as Jan said, Bayern have dropped a few more clangers of late and a few more goals, from back to front, they are a better outfit at the moment than both of those sides, I think.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What was the score when PSG and Chelsea met in the Club World Cup final?
I have absolutely... I have absolutely no idea.
But anyone on the outside? Any guesses?
3-1.
I can't hear you.
What was the score?
Well, I'll remind you, I have no idea.
Was it 3-0?
1-0.
3-0. 3-0. There you go.
But I tell you what,
lives in the memory.
Chelsea, again, shall we go to this one game at a time? Because PSG are not playing as well as they were last year. Last year, they were hitting third gear, fourth gear, then they got to 5 and 6. They were absolutely brilliant. That is not the case at the moment. That being said, they're still a better team than Chelsea. If I was a Chelsea player, I would take some comfort from the fact that the job they did in Barcelona earlier in the season, I wouldn't try and kid myself, and I wouldn't try and say, oh, well, Barcelona had an off night and all that. The Chelsea players are not thinking that. They just thought they were brilliant that night. We know Barca were terrible. We know that's not the real Barca. But if Chelsea have a couple of big nights like that, they have a chance. A chance. But if PSG get themselves together and, they have a very good manager in Luis Enrique that you would imagine he will fix some of the issues that they've been having, they are the favourites over the two legs. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But they did get a scare last time out against Monaco. There is absolutely no doubt about that.
Let's take a look at how the bookies have been set. PSG, of course, looking to defend their title, the first team to do that since Real Madrid. Chelsea are outsiders, PSG favourites to advance. Jules, I suppose the narrative around PSG is, don't worry. Look what they did last year. They found that extra gear when they needed it. We haven't seen signs of that so far. Obviously, against Monaco, they were far from their best. Is it a case of when you play against bigger boys, as PSG proved last season, they can up their game?
I wish it was as simple as that, Dan. But even last season, they already had played better. From January, that game against Manchester City that we quite often take as reference for the turning point in the season. That was early January. I think it was January 9th or 10th. So Now we end of February and they haven't showed any of that kind of form. They've got still big injuries. Dembele not being there is a massive blow. The biggest one maybe is Fabian Ruiz. Not because Ruiz is like world class or anything. It's just that midfield three of Vitinha, João Neves and Ruiz is just what makes this team very special. Yeah, of course, you've got Dembele who won the Ballon d'Or. You've got the two wingers and the two fullbacks, obviously. But that midfield three, when they are so dominant, when they press so well, when they are so press resistant themselves, I think it's very hard to get at PSG. You can't get the ball, you can't play out of their press. It's very difficult. The problem is, so far this season, is Vitinha right now is far from his best. Neves is just coming back from an injury, and Ruiz has been out now for more than a month with a knee injury that we thought was not too serious and actually is dragging on a bit. And he's not even sure to be there for the first leg, let alone maybe even the second leg of that Chelsea clash. So without Ruiz, you've got Zaire Emery, but that means moving Neves to the left-hand side. That means Hakimi is not as covered probably than when Neves is there. So it makes the PSG midfield more vulnerable than when Ruiz is there with the other two Portuguese players. And that, for me, has been the biggest problem this season. Yes, they're a bit tired probably. They finished very late with the Club World Cup and they've had injuries too. But it's how dominant they were in midfield that they're not anymore. And that's was a big reason why they were so good collectively as well. And if you take that away from them, the rest is a little bit more difficult. So I agree with you, they can still raise the level, of course. And I think Luis Enrique said that after the win against Monaco, the qualification against Monaco. But the Ruiz absence is a big, big one.
I'm just wondering, Jules, you mentioned it there, and I was just going to actually bring it up. Is there any talk in France about this potentially as partly a consequence of this ridiculous Club World Cup? Because PSG played the Champions League final against Inter. It was early June, I believe, and then they're, a couple of weeks later, they're off playing this stupid competition. They go all the way in that competition. Is there any, is it any coincidence that they've got players who are not as sharp, not pressing as well, and key players who played in a big part last season are injured?
Yeah, I think Luis Enrique today, I think probably for the first time, kind of hinted into it. He said, listen, when you mentioned the Champions League final, by the way, after that we had an international break, remember, with the Nations League. So a lot of the PSG players then went with the national team, then went to the US for the Club World Cup, then had a week off, and then went straight into the European Super Cup against Spurs in Bergamo and Udine, and that was it. And after that, you go along and you try to manage the minutes and the fitness of each player, and you lose players to injury. I don't think it's an excuse, it's just the reality. It's the same for Chelsea. I think you saw City with injuries because they went not as far, but still quite far. And I think that was probably a bit of a consequence of the summer that they had, really, all of them. And that's a problem. And when you know how much fitness is to this PSG team, because they need the intensity, they need to be outrunning you and outpressing you. If you don't have the fitness side of it, it's obviously more difficult. God,
I absolutely despise that competition.
Who's your pick? Who's your pick? Yeah, I do. PSG or Chelsea?
What is Liverpool excuse? Did they play in the Club World Cup?
They've just been bad.
Please have a bit of respect for the world champion,
yes.
Chelsea. I mean, they're playing PSG. No, I think that PSG will do this.
Oh.
I don't think they will do that. You asked me for my favorite. I thought you will have a serious answer on that. So I still think
you said don't rule Chelsea out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Elsewhere, Newcastle take on Barcelona. Again, two teams who have met recently. They, of course, played in the Champions League group stages. Barca went to St James's, won by 2-1. Let's have a look how the bookies have this one set. Oh, we don't have the odds. I tell you what, Newcastle are definitely long. I would bet Newcastle in this game. Over 2 legs.
I'll have that bet with you.
No, well, I don't want to bet with you because you want to just give me evens. I want proper odds on it.
No,
because I think De Jong being out is massive. I think Barcelona defensively are a shambles.
Pedri will be back though.
Yeah, Pedri back, but for how long? I just think overall, Newcastle, have a fighter's chance in this, definitely.
I agree. I agree with you, Dan. I will agree with you. I will agree with you. But it depends which Newcastle team it is. I don't think Eddie Howe knows who turns up as well. And I think the way Newcastle play when they are at the upper side of the performance, I think they can fit them very well to play Barcelona. I think that is a good game for them. So you won't have the bet with me, but I can still back you in the bet.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, they've got a puncher's chance, but I mean, come on, Barcelona are probably going to the favourites to win La Liga. They have much better players going forward than Newcastle. They have players like Rafinha and Lamine Yamal and Ferran Torres and Dani Olmo and Fermin Lopez, Lewandowski that can all turn the game. We know their problems is at the back, and I think it's one of the reasons that we'll see Eddie Howe probably going away that he has done recently with Newcastle, which is not play Voldemar through the middle and has played people like Anthony Gordon to utilise his pace to run in behind. And I think that is a tactic they will use against the high line of Barcelona. They will look for their pacier players to play through the middle and utilise the mountains of space that Barcelona leave. And that may well work in terms of causing Barcelona problems. But over 2 games, this Barcelona side with the attacking flair, even with Frankie de Jong out, Marc Casado can come in there. Marc Bernal is back fit again as a youngster. Eric Garcia has played midfield and done well, can go in and sit alongside Pedri in there. So they have options. Obviously de Jong is the glue. And him and Pedri, de Jong and Pedri were the real key to the second half performance at St James's Park, when Newcastle really pressed them and played with a lot of pace, and then those two just stood on the ball and dictated the whole of the second half. So he will be a miss, but I just feel Barcelona are too strong, particularly when Newcastle have to go to the Camp Nou.
Jules?
I think it's a very fascinating one because we mentioned De Jong, and rightly so, but Bruno Guimaraes won't be back either for Newcastle. And Guimaraes is probably, with Anthony Gordon, certainly in the Champions League, the most important player in this Newcastle team, with and without the ball. And without him, it's not the same at all. And Tonali is probably not still fully fit. And Joelinton is just only coming back from an injury. So all that midfield three that for the last 2 years have been the strength of this Newcastle team, really, and the heart of it and the engine of it, won't be there certainly at full strength. So that's probably where the game could be played. But yeah, of course, Newcastle have everything really to exploit the high line defensively from Barcelona, as we saw back in September when they lost. Rashford scored 2 great goals at St James's Park. But really, I think on that night, the expected goals were higher for Newcastle. They had more shots on target than Barcelona too. It was just thin margins that made Barcelona win that game, but it won't be easy for them for sure.